Today on Upfront, a move to draft a candidate to run for governor. Mike McCabe of Madison says he's willing, but would he run as a Democrat or an independent? I'll ask him next on Upfront. Then could toll roads be coming to Wisconsin? A Republican leader floats the idea as a long-term solution for highway fixes. Today, a top GOP member of the Joint Finance Committee talks tolls, taxes, and divisions on transportation.
Covering the issues important to Wisconsin. This is Upfront with Mike Goucher.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Upfront. Wisconsin Republicans who gathered for their state convention in the Dells this weekend are having some fun at the expense of Wisconsin Democrats. For weeks now, the state Republican Party has been pushing a Democrats in disarray theme after a number of Democrats said they would pass on running for governor next year. While Democrats weigh their options, there is a movement to draft someone who is trying to challenge the system. Nearly 200 people have signed a letter to Mike McCabe, the former director of the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, urging him to run. For years, McCabe tracked the role of money in politics. Today, he's leading a group called Blue Jean Nation, a place for what he calls the politically homeless. Mike McCabe joins us now on Upfront. It's good to have you on the program.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
So about 10 or 12 days ago, you made news by saying that, you'd be willing to run for governor. Where are you in that process? What have you heard from people since you said that? Where are you?
Well, it's not my idea. I'm not volunteering for this, but I'm being drafted. And it's inspiring to see people from every part of the state, north, south, east, and west, getting off the sidelines and deciding to take matters into their own hands. They're looking for a different kind of leadership. They don't want to wait for the parties to tell them who they can choose from. They want to find somebody they can get excited about. I'm honored that they see in me the qualities they're looking for. So what I've told them is I'm willing to do this, but you can't do it alone. And if there are enough people who are willing to do the work with me, I'm willing to do it. And I think to pull all the pieces together to make this happen, I think probably sometime soon after Labor Day, an announcement could be made. And based on what I'm hearing so far, I think this can happen.
You said the one thing you were struggling with was whether or not you would run as a Democrat or an independent, because let's face it, with the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, you probably made people in both parties unhappy from time to time. Where are you leaning on that? Do you think you would run as a Democrat?
That's obviously one of the questions that has to get answered in the weeks and months to come, and that's one of the reasons why I think making this official really realistically happens sometime after Labor Day.
An independent, though, can't win in this state,
I really feel an obligation to the people who wrote that letter and all the other people who've been pushing me to do this, to give them an opportunity to express their wishes on that topic. And I don't feel comfortable just saying, here's how I'm going to do it, until they've had a chance to express their wishes. But look, it would be most comfortable for me to run as a nonpartisan, because that's what I am and that's what I've been for a very long time. I don't belong to a political party, so that means that I'm taking a very unconventional path to this place. But look, I understand that running as an independent means you spend an awful lot of time trying to convince people that you're not a wasted vote, and there's a chance you split the change vote and the status quo gets continued, and then you get blamed for the continuation of the status quo. I get all of that.
Do you think you'd get a warm reception in the Democratic Party? And I asked that because I saw a piece that you wrote after the April election. It was an open letter to Wisconsin Democrats. There's some tough love in here for Democrats. Quoting a couple of the lines, you said, "How many more elections will it take for you, Wisconsin Democrats, to figure out you cannot beat Wisconsin's governor by hating him?" It's a pretty strong statement.
Well, look, this election can't be about one man. It's got to be about what 5 million people in this state want Wisconsin to become. And there are an awful lot of people out there who are really frustrated with the political establishment, and they don't feel they're being heard. They feel our government is working for a few and ignoring the rest, and that a privileged few call the shots at everyone else's expense. They would love to see an opportunity to strike a blow against the influence of big money in politics. They'd love to see an opportunity to find a way to get regular people back in the driver's seat of our government. There's an enormous amount of frustration out there, and people are looking at someone like me who's spent a lot of years calling out Democrats and Republicans when I saw evidence of wrongdoing or ethical misconduct, they look at that and they say that's the breath of fresh air we need. We need that independent streak. And like I said, I'm honored that they see in me the qualities they're looking for. It makes my head spin. So if they're, you got to look outside of the political establishment and see where the people are and what do they want, and that's what I'm going to stick with.
If you ran, what's the theme of the campaign?
Oh, I think a big part of it is creating a government that works for all of us and not just a few of us. But then the huge theme is our economy. We're leading the nation in shrinkage of the middle class. We're dead last in new business startups. We're 49th in internet speed. The latest ratings have us having the 4th worst roads in the country. People in power have been trying to build an economy from the top down. They've been lavishing tax breaks and subsidies on a few thousand people with the hope that some of that trickles down to the rest of the population. We've got to build that economy from the bottom up. We've got to empower 5 million people in this state, not just empower a few thousand and hope that they work some magic for the rest of us. We've got to empower 5 million people in this state economically, and we haven't had such a strategy for decades.
The governor was on this program about 3 weeks ago. He said, look, things are good. Unemployment's down to 3.4%. Worker participation rate's up very high. What do you say to that?
Well, you know, the people in power like to direct people's gaze toward moderating unemployment. Well, it's possible to find work out there, but for a whole lot of people, it's not possible to find work that allows you to make ends meet. It's not possible to find work that keeps you in the middle class. We are leading the nation in shrinkage of the middle class. For an awful lot of people, this economy doesn't work well. It works really well for a privileged few, for those at the top. And then it's leaving a whole lot of people behind. And that's because we've got a government that is ceaselessly catering to a wealthy and privileged few and ignoring the wishes and the needs and the hopes and the dreams of a whole lot of other people. That's got to change.
Final question. Nobody probably knows more about money and politics than you do, based on the work you did with the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign. So how do you run this campaign against Governor Walker, who, if as anticipated, announces he's running for re-election and will be financially backed in a way that will make it difficult for any challenger? What kind of campaign are you talking about running based on what you know about money and politics?
It's got to be people-powered and crowd-funded. It's got to be a
Bernie Sanders-style campaign?
Exactly. It's got to be a whole lot of people giving small amounts of money. I can't, in good conscience, fund a campaign in a way that would make me a hypocrite. I have talked for decades.
You don't want PACs giving you money. You don't want people coming in from the outside.
You can legally take an $86,000 check from a PAC or a $20,000 check from an individual donor. If I did that, I'd be a hypocrite, because for decades I have talked about how those big donations are the equivalent of legal bribery. So this has to be people-powered and crowd-funded. And I'll tell you this, if this election comes down to money alone, some candidate is going to win, but the people are going to lose, because they end up with representation that doesn't really represent them. They end up with a government that really caters to all those people who supplied the money and ignores the needs of a whole lot of people. We've got to give the voters of Wisconsin an opportunity to strike a blow against that arrangement.
Mike McCabe is the founder of the group Blue Jean Nation, former head of the Wisconsin Democracy Campaign, seriously thinking about running for governor. Good to have you on the program today. We appreciate it. Our editorial partner, WisPolitics.com, has coverage of the state Republican convention in the Wisconsin Dells. They also conducted a straw poll on the Republican race for U.S. Senate. Who's the favorite to take on Democratic Senator Tammy Baldwin next year? You'll find the coverage on WisPolitics.com and by checking out WisPolitics on Twitter. Coming up next on Upfront, the highway funding dilemma. Are toll roads going to be an answer, a long-term answer for Wisconsin? That's when Upfront continues.
Upfront with Mike Goucher, brought to you by the American Transmission Company.